Yeah, so I want to ask you a couple questions because I need to get some clarity. So we're going to keep this StreamYard going while I'm going? Okay, perfect. All right, just wanted to check. So I'm streaming from like 4 or 5 places right now. So hopefully my Wi-Fi is I pay it as much as I pay for it. It should keep it going. All right, what we got going here. So yes, how was your weekend? First of all, Ramon. Yeah. You can bring everybody on. I don't mind. I'm not distracted. We can keep all this going on at the same time. What's going on, Pastor Jeff? Good morning, sir. I see you over there on StreamYard. So I am. Thank you. Appreciate you. So I am live in. All right, we got StreamYard, we got Facebook, we got Instagram, we got Clubhouse. So I got 4 of these going at the same time. So Ramon, I want to ask you 2 things I want to ask you about. You got a couple minutes here? You gonna keep this going? Okay, perfect. So next Monday, we're going to be changing to a new schedule here at Breakfast with Champions, and we're going to be going video. So for the people who are on Clubhouse and the people who are, let's say, watching me on Facebook, Instagram, what do they need to do differently, if anything, moving forward? Start next week. Okay, perfect. So, and this is all in the name of and in the spirit of stepping up what we're doing here at Breakfast with Champions. That's the direction that we're headed here, just so everybody understands. All right, so thank you for answering that question. And here's the other question I have for you before I even get into my segment. So in the back channel here at Breakfast with Champions, for anybody who doesn't know, all of us moderators, we have our own WhatsApp conversation going on. And Ramon, you posted a poll in the back channel that I want to ask you about publicly, if you don't mind. And the question was, it was 3 things that you asked about. And I didn't get the question because I think it was a misspelling. I wasn't trying to even be a smart out with it, but I didn't understand what you were asking. But so it was 3 things you had in there. So it was a poll. It said, I think it was $5,000 was one option. It was 30 minutes with Oprah was the second option. And the third one said bestseller. It was missing the S for bestseller, but you meant bestseller. I didn't know that you were asking like, which one do you want? That's why I was asking for the clarity. But anyway, between those 3 things, $5,000, 30 minutes with Oprah, and a best-selling book, which one would you want? Now, I know what my answer was. I want to know, Ramon, first of all, what was the overall response you got? Then I want to know what your answer was and why. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That was 30 minutes, not 5 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Uh, right. Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you for answering that because my answer is pretty much the same. I answered the same. I said the 30 minutes with Oprah because, of course, the $5,000 would be like an immediate thing. I could do something $5,000 right now. And the best-selling book, yeah, I can leverage that. But at 30 minutes on Oprah's show, I could leverage that for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And her audience, the size of her audience is worth way more than $5,000 or anything I could do with a book. So that's why my answer was my answer, but I appreciate you asking that. So That dovetails right into what my topic is going to be today. And for those who don't know me, let me quickly introduce myself. Let me introduce the topic first. Topic today is how to collaborate with other businesses and other people. That is our topic, collaborating with other businesses and other people. For those who don't know me, my name is Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. I'm the author of 33 books. I don't think any of them made the bestseller list, but I have sold a lot of books. I don't think I fit the criteria to get on that list, but I have a lot of books, 33 books, done 4 TEDx talks, create this whole brand called Work on Your Game. It's all about taking the mental tools and the strategies to help athletes get to the top 1% in sports. And we translated those tools over from the sports world to the business world to help professionals perform at a higher level, be more consistent, and make more money. So today, what we're going to talk about is collaborating with other businesses and other people. How do you do this? Why does it matter? We're also going to talk about leveling up in relationships. That's something that I was jumping in and out in your segment there, Ramon, and I heard you talking about relationships and the value of Breakfast with Champions and how it's helped you level up in your own life and just leveling up with the type of people that you've met and engaged with here at BWC. And also, if we have time, we'll talk about how to just get yourself out there and get seen, heard, and known in your career, in your business, and anything that you're doing. But I got a lot of material here. I don't know if we're going to get through all of this, but we'll get through at least 2/3 of what I have possibly moving forward. And I think this is going to be the last hour that we're going to be doing for the foreseeable future. So we'll see how much of this I can get through. So let's get into it. Since we are in, everybody, what I call the collaboration era. Collaboration era is the era of the people who have the most opportunity, people who are making the most happen, the people who are moving forward the fastest and the most consistently are the people who are collaborating. That means the people who have the relationships, the people who can make a phone call, the people who can get their text messages responded to, the people who can get their emails replied to, people who know other people. That's where the value is these days. That's where the opportunity is. That's where the big money is at. Those of you who are interested in any of those things, you need to have the relationships. Now, there was a time about 20-ish years ago where all the power was in having the information. You had access to information, or you had access to, let's say you were a gatekeeper and you knew things other people didn't know, you had the power. But now that's kind of been democratized to where anybody can pretty much access any information they want, as long as you're willing to look for it, as long as you're willing to read it, as long as you're willing to take it in. That's where the power is. And I talked a few weeks ago about this concept of the Dream 100. If you didn't hear that segment, it might be in the BWC podcast archive. I'm not sure if I'm not definitely sure if it's there, but I know it's somewhere around that I did that segment. It's time to talk specifics on how you can actually collaborate with other people, other entities in the marketplace. It doesn't even have to be a person. It can be a business. How can you collaborate with another entity and generate more business for yourself? And then there's ways to take all of this, make a full game plan out of it, and you can build your whole business around this concept. But you need to understand how it works so then you can move forward and actually make it work. So let's get into it. Point number 1, collaborating with other businesses and other people. Number 1 thing you need to do before you even reach out to another person is you need to know, how will you make this a win-win situation? You're going to collaborate with somebody. If I'm going to collaborate with, I'm looking on stage here on Clubhouse. If I'm going to collaborate with Christina or Yan or Aria or Ramon or Jeff or Michelle or Megan or Tara or Dora Maria or Dr. Jeannie, I need to know, how can I make this a win-win situation for me and them? How can I get something out of it? How can they get something out of it? You have to set up your collaboration so that everybody benefits, so it is worth the investment from every side of the situation. All right. And that means the people that you collaborate with, how are they going to win in this situation? And also, how are you going to win? And how is the audience going to win? Because if y'all are collaborating, usually you and them are doing something for a group of people. So how is the audience going to win? How are you going to win? How are they going to win? And the reason why this matters, everybody, is because if they don't feel like they're going to win, or the audience isn't going to win, or you're not going to win, then one of those 3 groups is going to reject the collaboration. So therefore, nothing's even going to happen. All right. So if I reach out to Christina or I reach out to Stars Tina and say, hey, let's collaborate on this, it can't just be what I'm going to get out of it. It can't just be what they're going to get. And it can't just be what the audience is going to get. We all have to be getting something. And when we can figure that out strategically, now everybody's going to want to move forward and everyone wins. And if it involves money, well, there's also a 4th win. So this is not just a win-win. This is a win-win-win, because the audience is the 3rd win. There's also a 4th win, because in the United States, at least, the government is going to get a piece of whatever we make. So that's 4 wins. It's a win-win-win-win situation that we get in that process. So you need to figure out, how does everybody win when you are going to collaborate with another person. And the way that you start this, you want to do this from the beginning, is make sure that everyone knows the expected outcomes. Everyone knows what is expected of them, the process, what the outcomes are going to be, who's responsible for what. It needs to be clear communication in the entire process. And you, if you're the one who brought this whole idea to the table, you need to make sure that you are spearheading the process to make sure everybody's getting what they're expecting to get out of it. All right, this is the only way that you have a winning situation. And why this matters as well, folks, is because you want to be able to come back. We're talking about the collaboration era. This is all about the power of relationships, which means you want to make sure every deal that you do, every collaboration that you make, that the person that you work with, meaning your clients, your customers, your co-collaborators, they're all happy with what happened, because that means you can go back to them in 6 months and let's do it again. You go back to them in a year and say, hey, let's do another one. Or you can go to them when it's done and say, hey, who else do you know that might want to collaborate with me on a similar deal? And they'll say, oh, well, you know what? You should work with this person. You should work with that person. You should all work together in this process, because I did a deal with Tina and it went great. I did a deal with Yan and it went great. I did a deal with Pastor Jeff and it was amazing. I did a deal with Megan and it went amazing. You know what? You should do the exact same thing. So this is why you want to make sure that you're doing positive collaborations with everyone that you work with, so that they're all willing to do more things moving forward. And Ramon over there on StreamYard, the link you can put for me is workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's better than my Dre All Day link, but I appreciate you putting that link up there. So point number 2, we are talking here today about how to collaborate with other businesses and other people. Number 2, communicate clearly and often. All right, being that we're in the collaboration era, folks, biggest thing you need to be doing is communicating. All right, the collaboration era is about relationships, is about people, is about connections, meaning you need to communicate. You need to be a good communicator. You need to be a clear and frequent communicator. When you're working with other people, sometimes we make the mistake. There's the biggest mistake that happens in collaboration these days is, well, the first one is what I just told you, is not figuring out a win-win situation. You're only thinking about what you get, but not what they get. The second biggest mistake that people make is you think that, mistakenly, that other people communicate the same way that you do. Some people simply have a different style of communication. Doesn't make you or them right or wrong, but you need to understand how other people communicate so that you are communicating on their level. And sometimes you have to move to meet people where they are, and sometimes they got to move to meet you where you are, and hopefully the two of you can meet somewhere in between. So for example, some of you are the type of people who communicate a lot. For example, I have people who I'll send a message. Like I'll use Ramon for example. I'll send Ramon a message on WhatsApp and I'll ask Ramon a question and he'll send me back like a kind of a stream of consciousness response. He'll send me like 8 different messages in answer to that one question, because he'll think something, he'll say something, then he'll send another one 2 seconds later, another one in 30 seconds, another one in 45 seconds, another one in 30 seconds. And that's the way that he communicates. So he communicates like that, and I understand that. So I know moving forward that I adjust my communication with Ramon based on the way that he communicates, because I know he responds that way. I have other friends, for example, though, when I send them a message in WhatsApp, they don't like to type. They're not typers. They're more speakers. So they'll send me a voice message and they'll give me an 8-minute voice message responding to what I wrote in text, because they're not typers. They're more speakers. So I will communicate with them more through audio messages, because I know they like to respond to audio messages. So you need to, and this is a small thing. It may not seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal, because the better that you can meet someone on their level of communication, the better they'll feel like there's a connection between you and them. And it's much more likely you'll be able to get your point across, number 1. Number 2, get them to agree and work with you. And number 3, it'll make for a better overall process if you're going to work with this person and you're going to collaborate together. There are other people who don't talk that much. I have had friends and people that I work with who you ask them a question, they give you a 1-word answer, and you're like, all right, is that it? Is there any more to this? And they don't like to talk too much. So those are the type of people you got to interrupt them. You got to call them on the phone. Like, listen, I got 8 questions here that need to get answered, and I can't just go with these 1-word answers. I need to know exactly what's going on. So you have to know how people communicate, and you have to gauge this. You have to read this. And sometimes, a lot of times actually, folks, it's not reading what people say, it's reading what they don't say. And the better you get at this is a form of communication as well, folks. Remember that communication is not just what you say, it is also what is not said. And the better you can read what other people are communicating, even when they're not talking, the better you'll understand them. And when people feel like you understand them, they'll feel like they have a connection, and they'll be more willing to, again, go along with whatever it is you want to do or whatever it is that you're saying. So make sure the expectations are clear in the communication. And again, sometimes you have to pick up the slack of where somebody else leaves off. So from the very beginning, get clear on exactly how things will be communicated, how often, who's doing what. This might require you, as the person who had the idea, especially if you're the one who's going to the other person like, hey, here's my idea, let's do this. If you're the one who's initiating this, you may need to go further in your communication and kind of step outside of your comfort zone more than you are expecting the other person to do. Again, if you're the one who initiated it, you may have to do things that you're not so comfortable with rather than expecting them to do the same thing. You should be willing to go further. And over here at Work on Your Game, we had this thing that we call the 51-49 rule, which is it's a very simple concept that if you're the initiator of anything, you should take 51% ownership, which is a majority stake ownership, if you do the math, on anything that you do. So if I go to Aria and I say, Aria, hey, let's do this collaboration, she should have the expectation, and I already have the expectation, that I'm going to take majority stake ownership of how we make this thing happen. So if she's not doing exactly everything I need her to do, I'm going to pick up the slack where she drops off. Why? Because it was my idea. So if it's my idea, I got to take ownership of the process. And that's the same thing for you. Any collaboration you do, you take the majority stake ownership. There's a final decision that needs to be made between you and the person that you're working with. Me and Pastor Jeff are doing a collaboration and we can't decide what to do. I'm going to make an executive decision, as we say, and say, all right, we're going to do it this way. Why? Because it was my idea. I'm going to take ownership and I'm going to move that thing forward, whatever it's going to be. And that is the communication. And again, this is all part of communication, folks. And this is why I've talked about communication I've taken many segments and talked about it, but almost every segment that I do, I always bring it back to some form of communication, because if you can't communicate, then how are you going to move forward with any human being in any capacity in life? All right, we have to be able to communicate. And this is what really separates us from animals, is the fact that we have highly developed abilities to communicate in many different ways. And the better you are at this, the better you'll be able to get along with other people. Even if you are not that skilled at a specific thing, but your ability to communicate, you can kind of be the bridge between the skills of other people. Point number 3. We're talking here today about how to collaborate with other entities, whether they be humans, businesses, or a mix of both. As we say in the sales world, think past the sale. What does that mean? Thinking past the sale. That means, as I touched on this in point number 1, you want to be thinking about the next possible collaboration you may do with this person or this company while you're on the first one. And that does not mean you take your eyes off the ball and you forget about the task at hand. What it means is you want to make sure that everybody is winning in the process, that the communication is clear, that you are doing everything you said you were going to do, and that everyone is happy with the way things work out, so that when I call Tina, or I call Yan, or I call Megan, or I call Tara or Mary Lynn in 6 months and say, hey, remember that collaboration we did 6 months ago? You want to do another one? If I'm not thinking past the sale on the first one, I'm only thinking about what I get. I'm only thinking about the short term. They're not answering my call. All right, they're not taking my call the second time that I call. But if I thought past the sale the first time and I thought about, okay, I could take the 20% right now, and maybe they'll feel like I got a little bit too much, or let me take 15%, so they feel like they got to win, because I'll make more in the long run doing 2 deals with them than I would just doing 1 deal. Then you know what? Let me just take the 15%. Let me take a little bit less now, because in the long run, I'll make more money working with them twice than I will working with them once. That's thinking past the sale. So sometimes in life, you may take a short-term loss, if you even want to call it that, so you can get the long-term win. So another example, not example, but a cliche that you may hear is lose the battle, but win the war. So sometimes in life, and in sales especially, you want to do this. Think past the sale. How is this going to work for me long term? All right, who else does this person know that I'm collaborating with, that if they don't like how this went, all right, they could hurt my business moving forward. And if they like how it went, they could help my business a lot moving forward. So sometimes you, again, lose the battle, but win the war. And this is something that a week ago, I believe, Ramon, I was asking you about this. I was asking, well, why did you put the tickets for this BWC conference that I will be at, by the way, April, that's the 13th and 14th, Dallas, Texas. If you have not gotten your tickets yet to that event, please, one of the moderators, please put that in the chat. If you have not yet gotten your tickets to the BWC event in Dallas, Texas, April 13th and 14th, make sure you are there. And before I even get to the rest of my story, I go to a lot of events. I invest money in going to these events. I invest money in coaching and programs, etc. This is dollar for dollar the best investment you can make into your personal and professional development, given the price of this ticket. All right, this is the best investment you can make. There's no event I'm gonna go to this year where the ticket's gonna cost anything close to what I'm paying for this ticket. So get your ticket to this event. If you are going to go to one event this year, go to the BWC Dallas event. It is bwcdaily.com/Dallas and then the number 23, like Michael Jordan, bwcdaily.com/Dallas23. Get your ticket to this event. And what Ramon was saying is I asked him, why are the tickets to this event so cheap? Because I know the kind of events that Ramon goes to. I met Ramon at the 10X event 2 months ago, and I never paid this little for a ticket for professional development. He said the reason why he put the ticket so low is because he wants to make sure it's open for as many people as possible to come in just to see what we're doing, just to get a proof of concept of what BWC is doing in terms of live events. And that will open the door for, in the future, bigger events, maybe higher investments for all of us who want to attend. And that's how it starts. And I think, Ramon, and I'll speak for you, you can let me know if I'm right or wrong, he's thinking past the sale. He's not thinking, all right, let's just maximize revenue on this one event. It's how do we set this up so that in the future we can get more and more and more and more people coming to our events. This one is just a proof of concept to let everyone know, hey, we can do this. So thinking past the sale, folks, is, and I see Ramon, thank you for the cosign on that. So for all of us, whenever you're collaborating with a person, think about how can you make this a big win for them, even if it means you taking less of a win up front, so you can get more of a win on the back end. And any of you who knows anything about sales funnels, we all understand that in the sales funnel, you don't make all your money on the front end of the sales funnel, right? You don't make your money on the first page that people go to. So for example, the link that we have up in Clubhouse right now is from my book, The Mirror of Motivation. I'll give you the book for free. I'm just asking you to cover the shipping. Now, when we run ads to that, I do not make money on the front end. You go pay $9.95 for the shipping of the book. I don't make money on that. We are happy to break even. The money gets made on the back end. Is the next page, the second page, the third page, the fourth page of the funnel, or later on deeper, the stuff that we don't even advertise that people end up investing in. That's where the money gets made. So we're thinking past the sale. We just want to get you in the room. All right. The whole point is get people in the room. And this is a metaphor, everybody. You don't have to be selling books or running ads to book funnels to do this. It's get people in the room, metaphorically speaking, prove that you're good once they're in the room. Now that's when you start winning on the back end, the stuff that people don't see from the outside looking in. That's what we mean when we say thinking past the sale. All right, so now let's move on to the second part here, what I want to talk about. And I'm going to go through this part and then we'll open it up for a conversation because we're about halfway through my segment. Second part here is about leveling up in relationships. And again, the Breakfast with Champions community is a great example of this. I did not know any of the folks in the Breakfast with Champions community when I got introduced to this. I got introduced through some of you who are familiar here. I got introduced through Patricia Wooster, who works with Amelia Antonetti. They have Design Genius. They just put their book out, which I need to get, as a matter of fact. I got connected to Patricia through a different Clubhouse room. We were talking about book writing. She told me about Breakfast with Champions because she wanted to level up in her relationships by getting into the BWC world, because she knew this guy named Glenn Lundy, who she was a big fan of. I did not even know who Glenn was at the time. I came into the BWC room through Patricia, and that's how I ended up getting into this community and met so many great people here since then. That's a way of leveling up in relationships. But notice, how did I do that leveling up? If you listen in between the lines of what I just said, I was collaborating with Patricia. She knew people who I didn't know. She was looking at something that I didn't even know existed. But because I was paying attention, I ended up finding this world, and that's how I ended up getting in here. So talking about leveling up in relationships, I come from a background in sports, where the essence of sports is competition. It's what we call a finite game, meaning somebody wins and somebody loses. Just yesterday, there was a championship game for the women's college basketball tournament. And today is the championship game for the men's college basketball tournament. It's a finite game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. But, and every engagement is built on the foundation of winner versus loser. But business, on the other hand, is different. Business is an infinite game, meaning in business, all of us can win at the same time. So I'm just looking at the stage here on Clubhouse. So if all of us are doing some type of business, Christina, Tina, Ramon, Jan, Aria, Jeff, Michelle, Megan, Tara, Mary Lynn, Dora Maria, Jeannie, Arpit, Fiona, Kimberly, Peter, Kim, we can all win at the same time. Whereas if we were playing sports, only one person's going to win. There's only one trophy. Now I like that, but at the same time, when I'm in the business mode, is a different mindset. That's the infinite game. That how do we make sure everybody gets a win? It is not a zero-sum game. So because of this, while there is competition in business, there also can be collaboration. And in business, you don't really have to compete at all if you don't want to. You can think more, how can I collaborate with my peers instead of trying to compete and beat them? In sports, you got to beat everybody. But the essence of collaboration is the presence of a relationship. Everybody following me here? Many business people operate their business in a personal vacuum. And what I mean by that is you don't know anybody. Nobody knows you. You're kind of just doing everything on your own. If you're very talented, hardworking, you're in the right market, you got the right product, maybe you run the right ads, you can still succeed in business by your definition. But you could get a lot more done through relationships and connections to other humans than you can ever get done by yourself. I don't care how talented you are. So if you want to multiply your business and the results of your business faster, this is the most important thing you can do is build relationships and utilize your people skills, or build your people skills to build relationships. And what I'm going to talk about here in these next couple points is exactly how you do this. And yes.
As you give me to talk about the next couple points, I was going to say I'm going to end the live broadcast on this side, but thank you for rolling with me. This has been absolutely amazing. As you take a sip, I've never seen Dre be able to take a sip of water before. This is great. I get to see him. So I just wanted to say thank you, brother. I'm going to end the video segment, just so you know.
So you're ending the StreamYard, you're saying?
Yes, sir. In the StreamYard.
All right, got it. All right, cool. Okay, so when it comes to building the relationships and leveling up, sometimes people say to me, and I hear this from people all the time, they'll say, well, Dre, I just need to get more information. I'll come to an event. I'll come to the BWC Dallas event so I can get more information. Or I have some coaches who give me information. Or Dre, I'll listen to your podcast so I can get information. Understand this, folks. The information that you want is not on Google. It is not in books. It is not on a podcast. It is not on YouTube. Yes, you can get information from those places, but understand what I'm telling you. The information that you want is in the minds of the human beings that you need to connect with. What do I mean by this? What I mean by what I just said is the following. If all you needed to get to your highest level of success was just raw information, then there should be a line outside the library in your town right now, but we know that there's not. And all you would have to do is just spend all day on YouTube, go down the YouTube rabbit hole, which I have clients who tell me they do this all the time, and they feel bad about it because they're procrastinating and not doing their actual work. Here's the thing. It's not the information itself that you need. It's the application of the information. It's how do you use the information. It is what's happening that is not posted on the internet that you need to know about. Other human beings understand that. And that's where the breakthroughs come from. The breakthroughs come from talking to other people who know things that you don't know, who are using the information that you have in different ways than you are. That's where the level ups come from. That's where the changes come from. That's where the breakthroughs come from. That's why you got to level up in relationships and get around the right people who are using things in different ways. And that's where all the jumps come from. Everybody get it? Now let me tell you how to actually start doing this. Leveling up in relationships. Number one thing you must do. Choose your targets. Choose your targets. So that whole concept of the Dream 100, I talked about this probably about a month ago here on Breakfast with Champions. Dream 100 is a fancy term that is a simple concept. Dream 100 simply means, for those of you not familiar, identify people who already have the audience that you want and figure out how you can work with them, i.e. collaborate, so that the people in their audience now know that you exist. That's all the Dream 100 is. So my friend Patricia and I connected. When we connected, she said, well, this guy, Glenn Lundy, is in my Dream 100, Dre. He's a guy that I want to connect with, and I think I have a ways of getting into that world. So, hey, would you want to work with me when we get in here? And I said, yes. And no, the rest became history. That was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. Patricia had chosen her target. That was the whole point. Glenn Lundy was on her Dream 100. All of you should have your Dream 100. Who are the people that already have the people that you want, the audience, the customers, the clients that you want? How can you collaborate with them, make it a win-win situation so everybody can get a positive outcome from it? When you're building relationships, there's a time to meet anyone and everyone. But as you mature and grow in your business and you get specific about what you want and where you're going, you got to get more specific about who you need to connect with. So ask yourself two simple questions. Here they are. Number one, who has a need that I can fulfill? Where can I take my skill, my ability, my connections, my experiences and help somebody else? And number two, what needs do I have that other people can fulfill? And those answers are going to result in a specific group of people. And then those are the people that you need to target. I once heard a businessman says that when he goes to a networking event, there's 100 people in the room. He knows there are 3 or 4 he actually wants to meet. And he goes there to meet those 3 or 4 people. Even though there may be 50 people that want to meet him, he's looking to meet 3 or 4. You eventually, as your business matures, folks, you eventually may not have time to sift through every single person who is emailing you or in your DMs. So you got to become more discerning about who you actually want to meet. Is there any of you use LinkedIn, for example? You may notice every time you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you get people sending you some auto message. You can't respond to every single one of them. You got to identify who are the people that you actually want to talk to. So you develop this skill based on knowing what you want. You got to get clear on what your outcomes are and what results you're trying to produce so that you know who you're targeting and who you want to talk to. Or if somebody comes to you unsolicited, you can at least look at them and you can discern, okay, does this person have something that I need? Does this person have a need that I can fulfill? If the answer is yes, you can move forward with them. But you need to know exactly what you're looking for so that you can say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no when you're looking through opportunities, because there'll be a lot thrown at you. The more seen, heard, and known you become, there will be more opportunities thrown your way, eventually more than you can go through every single one of them. So you have to come up with a process for filtering and discerning, where do I move forward and where do I pass on that chance? And that's completely okay. Point number 2, we're talking today how to level up in relationships. Once you decide who you are going to talk to, or someone comes to you and you're going to get in a conversation with them, you need to quickly identify what they need that you have or can provide. What need do they have that you can serve? Easiest way to build a relationship with any human being on this planet, I don't care if it's business related or not, everybody, here it is give them what they want. Those of you familiar with the late, great Zig Ziglar, he had a famous quote he would say at the end of every one of his speeches, and all of you know it. Give everyone else what they want, and they will give you everything, and I do mean everything, that you want. If you want to build a relationship with another human being, simply give them what they want. Is a simple concept, but many human beings lose this because we are all on some level so narcissistic and only thinking about ourselves that we never get around to thinking about what the other person wants. When you give people what they want, you'll get everything you want. And that is a very, very simple formula. Remember that everybody's tuned into the radio station WIIFM. That stands for What's in It for Me. When you know what another person wants and you show them that you have it and that you can give it to them, they will give you their full undivided attention, let alone anything else that you want from them. And they will be willing to give you what you want in exchange for what they want. This is the law of reciprocity that is deeply ingrained into the wiring of every human being. We all have this built into us as part of our operating system. There's no human who does not have this. So when you give people what they want, they will be wanting to give you what you want. So instead of looking at people and trying to think of what they can do for you, as to paraphrase John F. Kennedy, identify what you can do for them. Don't ask what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country, metaphorically speaking. So this will help you build a ton of strong relationships. And even if you're not getting anything in the moment, again, what did I just talk about? Thinking past the sale. If you put in a bunch of favors, so to speak, and do things for other people, and you just keep doing that, you keep planting the seeds of doing things for other people, what you're going to have is a Rolodex full of strong relationships and a cohort of allies who are looking for ways they want, because again, it's wired in us, looking for ways to repay you for the fact that you have already helped them out. So understand that every time you help somebody else out, it doesn't have to be a transaction. All right. You don't want to be transactional in your relationships. Worst thing you can do in a relationship is keep score. And this is in any kind of relationship, business relationship, intimate relationship, friendship. You don't want to be keeping score in a relationship. You want to be giving value as often as you possibly can. And again, if you give value to another person, it is wired in us that we feel a need, a desire to give back to the other person, whoever gave to us. So you go out there and plant the seeds of giving value to other people. Eventually, everybody's going to be coming back to you and looking for ways to give value back to you. And if you give value to people who are playing the game at a higher level or equal level to you, but maybe doing things differently, now, well, guess what you have? Now you have a phone book full of people who can make things happen for you that you, on your own accord, with your own talent and skill and hard work, could never get done by yourself. That's the value of building relationships. And understand, folks, that there's nothing you're going to find on Google that can get your phone call answered by somebody at some company who otherwise they only answer calls from people that they know. But let's just say Tara knows some people that I don't know up in New York, or Dr. Jeannie knows some people in Palm Beach who haven't been returning my call, or Christina knows some people who are not replying to my emails, but I've put in favors with them. I've done good things with them. I've collaborated with them and given them value, more value than even than they expected. Now I can't get that phone call answered in Manhattan. I reach out to Tara and say, "Hey, Tara, you know any people at this company up in Manhattan?" She says, "Oh, as a matter of fact, Dre, I do." And she's willing to make that call for me. Or Christina goes and sends that email and CCs me on it and say, "Hey, prospect X, meet Dre. He's a good friend of mine. He's done great things for me in the past." Or Dr. Jeff says, "Hey, let me walk you into this meeting. I'm going to this lunch meeting with these guys. You're trying to do business with them. Come with me." And he introduces me. Now I'm a friend of a friend. Now I can get a business deal done that I otherwise couldn't have got done. My skill level did not change. I still had the same ability that I had 3 weeks ago. The only difference is now I came highly recommended from somebody that they know. And in the sales world, what do we call this? We call this a warm lead. And it's much easier to make a sale to a warm lead than it is to make to a cold lead. This is the value of relationships, folks. And again, you can't get this on Google. You can't get this by watching YouTube. You get this by shaking hands and making relationships and knowing people, all right, winning friends and influencing people. This is what you need to be doing. And again, this is why you need to be in Dallas in, what are we talking, 10 days? 10 days you need to be in Dallas, folks. And again, somebody please put the link in the chat that of that Dallas event. That is BWC's Dallas event, April 13th and 14th. You need to be in the room. And again, this is, BWC is not paying me to promote this event. All right. This is not an affiliate link. Okay. I'm telling you all this because I tell my own audience this exact same thing, is that the most important thing you can do to level up in life. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, you could be an athlete, you could be an author, you could be a custodian, you could be somebody who doesn't even know what you're doing right now. You're just trying to figure out what you're going to do in life. Is when you know the right people, that's the fastest way to move yourself forward. It is not knowing the right information. Everybody has information. Fastest way to move forward is to know the right people and have the right connections. And the way you make connections, folks, is not necessarily through sending DMs and tweets. It is shaking hands. All right, that still matters. It still matters to shake hands, look somebody in their eyes, sit at the table with them, and exchange the physical energy in person with a person. That is still a thing. This is the reason why Zoom is Zoom, but we still go and fly to a place and all meet and shake hands with each other and take pictures. We still do it. Why? We could all do it on Zoom for much cheaper and much easier and much more conveniently. Why do we still go to the events? Because that human connection is a thing. It is still a thing. Do not undervalue this. All right, point number 3. We're talking today, this is the second part of my segment here. We're talking how to level up in relationships. Be a consistent value add. This one is kind of self-explanatory, but I will explain it, of course. Russell Simmons wrote a book years ago. He's a hip hop guy, and you don't need to know who he is, but he said the following that you should know. He said, "Give until they can't live without you." If you just take that phrase, give until they can't live without you. If you give so much value to an audience of people, you become so valuable to them that they start seeking you out, even though, again, they're not giving you anything specifically, but you became so valuable that now you become needed to them. So the way that I first got known on the internet is I used to play basketball. That was my background. And in 2005, I started putting basketball workout videos on this brand new website that said you can put as much video up here for free as you want. It was called youtube.com. All right, that's how I first started getting known. And a bunch of basketball players, even to this day, still know me from putting out the basketball vids. I put videos on YouTube every day for 10 years straight. And it eventually morphed into talking about mindset, and that kind of led to what I do now. The whole point is, from 2005 to 2009, there was no money to be made putting content on the internet. All right, if you were blogging, or at least not easily, let's say, there was a way to make money from it if you knew what you were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just putting content out. 2005, 2009, if you were putting content on the internet, like blogging or YouTube, you were, for the most part, you were some bum living in your mom's basement who needed to get a real job and take a shower. Right. That's what, and I was playing basketball at the time professionally, but at the same time, I'm putting all this content on the internet. Most people knew me from the content I was putting out on the internet. So in 2009, when I started selling my own programs and products, I did not have to run any ads. I did not have a marketing campaign. I didn't even have a marketing strategy. I don't know if I even knew what marketing strategy was at the time, but as soon as I started releasing my products, it was a $4.99 training program teaching basketball players how to dribble or how to shoot. Those are my first 2 products, $4.99 dribbling program and a shooting program. They immediately started selling. I'm not telling you that to impress you. Actually, I'm trying to impress you a little bit, but I'm telling you that to impress upon you. The reason why those programs sold immediately when they dropped is because I had given so much value for 5 years straight that my audience was already ready and willing to reciprocate by giving me value back by buying those programs. Now, they weren't buying them as a charity case. They were buying them because I was giving them something of use. The whole point is I had already proven to them I know what I'm doing. I know how to explain this. I can help you. And I was demonstrating it every single day for free. So when I started selling things, they were already ready to buy. They were just ready for me to take their money. All right. Any of you ever heard a marketer talk about that? Somebody's coming to you like, just take my money. I'm ready. I already know that I want to buy from you. That's the position you want to be in. And it doesn't have to be about money. I'm just using money as an example. But giving until they can't live without you, that's putting the value out. That's emailing your list and giving them valuable stuff in your emails. That's going on live streams. That's doing events. That's making friends with people who are influential, people who are on their way up and doing useful things for them, even if you're not getting, quote unquote, anything back in exchange, continuing to just build that up, because there's going to come a time when you want something, you need something, you're putting an offer out, and you want that reciprocation to start flowing back to you easily. It shouldn't be a struggle when you need that because you've already put the value out. So that's what being a consistent value add means. All right. So again, know what your personal needs are, give other people what they want, and when you need something, they'll be willing to give it back to you. All right. This is how you get the law of the universe, as many people call the law of karma, which I've yet to meet a person who didn't agree with it. This is how you get it working in your favor. All right. What you put out is what you get back. Again, I have yet to meet a human who didn't agree with that. So figure out what you have that is of value that you can give to other people, that is of value to them. That's identifying your audience, and keep giving it to them until you become something that they start to expect, something that they cannot live without, something that they're like, man, where's Dr. Jeannie? I thought I was expecting Dr. Jeannie's email. I didn't get her email. They're emailing you like, hey, where's your email? Hey, Yan, where's your live stream? Hey, Christina, where's that thing you were going to post on Facebook that you post every day? And you want to get to the point that something that you're doing for free, people start to expect it, to where they kind of get annoyed, alarmed, or worried if you don't do it. That's how you give until they can't live without you. You want to get yourself to that position. So figure out what it is and keep giving it to your audience. And it doesn't have to be for the whole world to value it. It just needs to be for the right audience to value it. So think about social media, for example. Social media is free to use, right? We can all post on social media as much as we want for free. And it made itself free and valuable to the point, if you think about it, bigger picture here, social media is ubiquitous in all of our lives, right? How quickly, when you pick up your phone in the morning, how many minutes pass before you open up a social media app? Think about that. Somebody put that in the chat. How many minutes? Just put a number. From the time you first pick up your phone in the day, maybe some of you don't pick up your phone when you first wake up, but from the time you do pick up your phone, how many minutes elapse before you open a social media application? So social media, Clubhouse, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. How many minutes pass in a day before you open a social media app? Most of you, it is, okay, we got an hour, we got 30 minutes, we got 90 minutes. I see 1 minute, I see 30 minutes. Okay, I think some of y'all are lying. All right, but the whole point is we use social media all day, every day. Notice that nobody on here said they don't use social media. All right, we all use it. It's completely free. What does social media do? They gave until now it's a normal part of your life. 20 years ago, how many minutes passed before you opened the social media app? Well, the entire day, 24 hours, because we didn't have social media. It has wedged its way into all of our lives to where it's a normal, accepted part of our life that we use social media every single day. That's an example of giving until they can't live without you. Social media gave you something for free. How much do you pay to use Clubhouse, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn? Now, you may have an upgraded account on one of those applications, but generally you can use them for free, right? So social media decided to start charging you. Let's just say they said, hey, you can't use this app without paying us $1 a month. Most of us will pay, because it has developed basically an addiction, not in a negative way, at least in this conversation, in a positive way, that we want to keep using it. Why? Because it gives us access to other humans who we otherwise would not have met. Everybody who's here on this stage, I would not know any of these people. They wouldn't know me if it wasn't for social media. So you want to do the same thing with what you offer to people who you would like to help. Now, with that said, we got 14 minutes here. I'm going to recap my points, and hopefully we can keep the conversation going there. I'm going to recap my points, and hopefully there's enough feedback from the audience here and people on stage that we can keep this conversation going up until 9:30, where I believe Dr. Jeannie will be following me. Let me recap my points really quickly. Topic is two topics we did today. How to collaborate with other businesses and people as we are in the collaboration era, which is the era where, and appreciate the badge over there, Brian, on Instagram. We're in an era of collaborating with other people and working with other people to move ourselves forward. This is where all the juice is these days, folks, is in relationships. It is not in information. Everybody has information. Doesn't mean you should be ignorant. Have information, but that's not going to separate you from other people. What separates you is the connections. Can you make a phone call? Can you send a text? Can you send an email? Can you get a response that other people can't get? Number one, figure out how to make it a win-win-win situation. You win, person you collaborate with wins, and the people who you are serving win. When you do that, everybody will be happy and everyone will be willing to do it again. You always want to make a second sale. The money in business, folks, is always in the second sales, not in the first sales, in the second sale. Number two, communicate clearly and often. You communicate with another person, just make sure everyone knows exactly what's expected, exactly what needs to be done. I would ideally put this in writing so everybody knows what the deal is, exactly what we're going to do, who's going to do what, who's responsible for what, and keep communicating. I would rather over communicate with someone when I'm collaborating with them, especially if it's a new relationship, than under communicate, because a failed communication leads to all kinds of problems that I know we've all experienced at different points in life. So don't make this mistake. Number three, as we say in the sales world, think past the sale. Don't think about how much can you get out of this first experience. Think about, all right, how can I build a 10-year relationship with this person to where they want to keep working with me and we can keep doing things together. We can keep making money together, which means, listen, you don't have to win everything in business. Again, business is not sports. And sports is one winner and one loser. In business, everybody should win. So think win-win, because again, you will make more money if you can collaborate with somebody 10 times over 10 years than collaborate with them one time and you just get everything out of that first experience. So think win-win, think past the sale. And the second part here is how to level up in relationships. And again, I come from a background in sports, which is a finite game, which simply means there's one winner and one loser in every competition. But in the business world, everybody can and should win in business. It's not about beating everybody, and business is about serving everybody. And when you serve everyone, including the people that you collaborate with who may have formerly been your competitors, everybody can win and everybody gets more. Even the consumers these days like when two people that they follow start collaborating and working together. Any of you's ever done this, you notice this. People in your audience are like, oh, I'm so happy that Dora Maria and Mary Lynn are working together. I didn't know they even knew each other, but now they're doing business together. They're happy and they want to buy whatever you two do together. Why? Because they like both of you. They love to get a combination of everything that you all are doing, not just what one person is doing by themselves, because it saves them time too, because now they have to go look at both of your stuff. They can get it all in one place. So number one, choose your targets. Who are the people who are on their way up, who are already serving the people you want to serve, who you would like to work with? You need to identify these people. This is also known as the Dream 100 strategy. You should have a list of the people whose world you want to get into, and then you strategize about how do you get into their world. Usually you get into their world by point number two, identify what they need that you have or that you can provide. This is the easiest way to build a relationship with any human being on this planet, is to give them what they want. If you just think about that and don't do anything else, just do that. Remember what Zig Ziglar said, when you give other people what they want, they will give you everything that you want, more than everything that you want. If you just focused on that and only did that, you did that for an entire year, I guarantee you will get so much coming back to you a year later or even before that year is up. But this will be the only strategy that you need in business. And number three, be a consistent value add. As Russell Simmons said, give until they can't live without you. This is simply the law of karma, which again, I've never met a human who didn't agree with it. When you give other people good things, you're going to get good things back. It is a law of the universe. It is not a theory. So think about social media. It's become a normal part of all of our lives. Whether you take an hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes, or 10 minutes to get on social media, everybody gets on social media. Why? Because they made themselves a normal part of your life by giving you so much value that now you can't do without it, to where you are pretty much, in a positive way, at least in this sense, addicted to it. So with all that said, folks, I've been talking for 50 minutes straight. Let's open up the floor. Who has anything to add, ask, or share on the concept of relationships and collaboration in business and life? The mic's open, please. And 5, 4, somebody go.
I love the idea of collaboration because, I'm doing this podcast with my son, right? And I I guess what I'm thinking is, how can we collaborate with people who we bring on to interview? How can we take it? Because I remember when Grant said something to Glenn about, yeah, you can be a TEDx speaker, but there's nowhere to go from there. So I'm thinking like, yes, long term, we have these people come on the podcast, but how can we collaborate further after you just have a guest on a podcast? Is there anywhere to go from there?
That's an excellent question. And that's Mary Lynn speaking, by the way. She didn't identify herself, but yeah, man, thank you for the question. Yes, absolutely. And that's a great question because Mary Lynn, I have a podcast. I don't have guests on my show, but I guest on other people's shows. And here's what I do. After I appear on somebody's show, after some time passes, I will follow up with them and say, hey, Mr. Podcast host or Mrs. Podcast host, let's say I was on your show, for example, Mary Lynn. What's your son's name?
Miles.
Miles. Okay, so let's say I was on the Marilyn and Miles show, MLM, and I would reach back out to you two and say, hey, Marilyn and Miles, I know I was on your show about 6 months ago, and hopefully you got great feedback from that. I appreciate the opportunity. Listen, I have a university where I coach people on mindset, strategies, and systems, and you may have some people in your audience who maybe the programs you have might not be exactly what they need, but my program would be great for them. So how about if you introduce some of your audience to my program, I'll give you an affiliate fee of 50% anybody who signs up based on coming from your world. And let's get on a call. Let's talk about what exactly my program is so you can vouch for it. And anybody you send my way, you'll know exactly who they are. Everything will be documented and you can make money without having to do any of the work. How's that sound for you? And then I pass the ball back to you and see what you have to say. Mary Lynn, how does that sound?
I love it. Yes. Because, like you were saying, it's infinite. The combinations of people we can work with and the businesses we can grow are infinite. So there's enough for everybody. So why not share like that? And then it comes back to you again. So love it.
Exactly. And also, Mary Lynn, since you're the host, what you can do anytime you have a guest on your show, especially if there are people in the thought leadership space, just ask them for an affiliate link for whatever they want to promote. And then whatever gets sold based on being on your show, you're making money from it. So there, your show is monetized.
Pew, pew, pew.
All right, there you go. Dr. Jeannie, I think you're about to speak. You're unmiked.
I was just going to say, I think what we're talking about here is just that, not getting over that fear of collaboration. But what you just did in that moment with Mary Lynn, Dre, was you just said, how do you take something you're already doing and just make it stronger because of collaboration?
That's right.
Just everything you've said today is one step and thinking about it differently, seeing it a little differently. So that's all I was going to add. I'll pass them on.
100%. And we just want to look for different ways of doing this. Just being creative. And there's a book I'll recommend to everybody. It's called How to Get Everything You Can Out of All That You Got, written by Jay Abraham. If somebody can put a link to that or just the title of it into the chat, it's a great book where he's just page after page is giving you different ideas for how he's helped businesses collaborate over the years. It's good. How to Get Everything You Can Out of Everything You Got. Author's name is Jay Abraham. All right. Anyone else? Mic's open. Anybody on stage want to speak up, add anything, ask anything, share? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now let me ask some questions of people on stage. So in our moderator chat in the back end, the back chat, Ramon had posted, I asked this at the beginning of my segment about, he said, would you take $5,000, a 30-minute segment on Oprah's show, or would you want to have a best-selling book? Which one would you want? So I want to ask anyone on the stage who would like to unmute and answer the question, which one would you rather have and why? Anybody who's present want to answer that question? Or do I got to start calling on people?
I'll go, Dre.
Okay, go ahead, Tara.
I think everybody's tied up today. Hands down, as soon as I saw him ask that question, it's Oprah for me. Number one, I absolutely love her. I love her heart. I love her soul. It's impact for me, and it's connection for me. And I don't seem to feel like I can get the connection from the other two. I love your segment, by the way. But we do naturally. It's like biologically wired in us. We seek connection with other human beings, and so I would jump on that opportunity all the time, even if it was for 10 minutes. I would do it.
Absolutely, me as well. I would even pay for it. If I had to, I might pay the 5,000, right?
I'll do your laundry, I'll cook for you. I would do anything just to have that opportunity. I do it for free. Like I would.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate that. Christina, Yan, Michelle, Dr. Jeff, Dora Maria, Matt, any of you got an answer on the Oprah $5,000 bestseller topic? Which one would you take and why?
This is Jeannie. I'm on the show. I'm going to be on the show.
You going to be on? Oprah show? Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I think, well, one, that's my sweet spot. I like engaging with people. I like being spontaneous and in the moment. But I just think the ripple effect of her influence and having that connection. I'm about connection and intersection. So having that connection to see what comes out of it. That would be my choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely take that Oprah. And like Tara said, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever she can offer, I'd absolutely take it. And
yes, I would pay.
Yeah, I would pay too. They probably charge. They probably be charging these days. All right, so we got 3 minutes left in this segment before Dr. Jeannie steps in. That book, saw someone asking in the chat. Everybody got that title? It is J. Abraham, How to Get Everything You Can Out Everything You Got. Yes, Mary Lynn put it in the chat. So anybody looking for that, book, there it is. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yeah, this Pastor Jeff.
Go ahead, Dr. Jeff. How you doing?
Yeah,
Pastor Jeff. Excuse me.
Yeah, Dr. Jeff, Pastor Jeff Dave.
Are you a doctor too? All right, cool.
I get called that all the time.
Okay.
I'm going to answer that question. So I'm going to answer it in this manner. I would not take the #1 best-selling book because that will have a limited amount of an ROI, and it may be in a niche area. And so while it would be good, it's not the best choice. The $5,000 a month, that would be good because you could depend on it, but it still does not give the best ROI off of the investment or the choice. The best, as many of you have already said, because it would be 30 minutes with Oprah because of her influence, her network, and you know that immediately people who resonate with her are going to resonate with you, and it gives you a lifetime bragging rights. As Grant Cardone said this morning on Glenn's show, his interview, is that him filling up that stadium, surpassing what Pastor what's his name did. That
Joel Osteen?
it gave him, Olsen, yes.
Yeah.
Joel Osteen, yeah. So surpassing what Joel Osteen did gives him lifetime bragging rights. So being on the Oprah show would give you lifetime bragging rights and unlimited ROI. So that's why I would choose sitting there with Oprah and have her say, Dr. Jeff. Back to you, Trey.
Perfect. Appreciate you, Dr. Jeff. And I saw GA in the chat here. He said, well, if I had a best-selling book, that would get me on the Oprah show. So I don't know, GA, you kind of cheating on that one, but I get your point. I get the direction that you're going. I appreciate the hustle there.
It's the other way around. It's actually the other way around. If you get on the Oprah show, if she puts your book out, it's going to be #1.
Yeah, that's right. So you actually can work in both directions. You're right about that. So, all right, appreciate everybody's engagement on that. We are right at 9:30 on the spot. Again, everybody, next week I'll be at a 7:30, I believe. Yeah, 7:30 a.m. I will be on. So my segment time is changing. Y'all will hear all about that. And April 13th, 14th, 12th, 13th. No, 13th, 14th, Dallas. I will be there. Get your ticket to that event. The link is in the chat. Dr. Jeannie, the mic is yours. Good morning.
Good morning, Trey, and thanks so much. And you always fire me up, but I'll just tell you, every single time that I've followed you now, I end up changing what I'm going to talk about because you inspire me. So I have kind of shifted up my segment today, but I'm so glad to be with everybody, and so I'm going to reset the room, and just so glad that you're here with Breakfast with Champions. I am Dr. Jeannie Snyder. I am a professional speaker, coach, and I help
Instagram. Appreciate y'all. Y'all got it. We out of here.